I was watching this clip of you and Huberman. It was really fascinating because you were talking about self-talk, the way you talk to yourself, and about how you adjusted that. I thought that was very, very interesting. That you would get so, one of the problems with people like yourself, I guess myself too, people that get like really into things, is you get obsessed and then you get very hard on yourself if things aren't going well, or if it's not going exactly the way you want it to go, the way, if you're not using proper technique, if you're not doing, and then for you had a real problem where you're like very hypercritical of yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, it was actually out loud. I mean, I would just verbally berate myself whenever I made mistakes, and I don't remember not experiencing this, right? So this is something that
Your whole life.
Yeah, this is like 7-year-old Peter was doing this too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that from?
I mean, I know it had to do with sort of, various defects in my, my life as a child. And I think there was I think everybody responds kind of differently to, the word trauma is a bit loaded, so I want to be kind of careful using it. But I think we all experience trauma. We're highly adaptable, right? So everybody adapts to trauma very well, I think, for the most part. But there are maladaptations. And I think one of my issues, I think, growing up was just a total inferiority complex, right? This feeling like not good enough, looked down upon constantly, all that sort of stuff. Like a lot of this is very typical immigrant stuff, by the way, like when you're kind of the only non-white person in your middle-class neighborhood, you're different than everybody else. Look, I think that's what drew me into sports like boxing and martial arts at such a young age, right? It was kind of like I'll be different, I'll be better, I'll be tougher, all those things. So somehow I just think that narrative got harsher and harsher as I got older and older. And it didn't matter, what sort of accolades came with it, because it does produce good results sometimes. You do get better. But I think, where I got to was just the benefits were no longer close to compensating for the costs. And I think the biggest costs were the costs not just on me, which were there all along, but it's how it kind of spreads into your relationships with other people, most importantly, your family.
Yeah, I realized at an early age that there's zero benefit in being hard on yourself, because I am, no matter what, I'm a perfectionist and I get very angry at myself. There's zero benefit to self-talk that's negative. So I cut that out of my life like very early on.
And how did you do that?
Well, from age 15 on, I was very active in martial arts competition, right? So my whole focus was on that, and my whole focus was on getting better. And anything that would somehow or another get in the way of me getting better, I cut it out. Whether it was partying, drinking, spending too much time with girls, whatever it was, I'm like, that's got to go, because that's getting in the way. And I found that negative self-talk gets in the way, because there's the reason why you have negative, or I had negative self-talk, was because I was insecure, and I was very ambitious, and I really wanted to be really good, and I wanted to be really good immediately. I didn't want to wait. But I realized somewhere along the way that the negative, in any way, shape, or form, I didn't need it, because I was so driven, like that the negative was just getting in the way. It was like I thought that it was helping me, because I was like, come on, you fucking idiot, like get going. But then I realized, like, no. Like there's no benefit to that, because you already have like this crazy desire to get better. So just don't ever be shitty to yourself, and instead concentrate all your energy on what you're doing wrong and technique. And that's why my technique got so good so quickly, is because I didn't spend any time with like I didn't spend any time after losses loathing myself. All I wanted to do was get back to the gym, but I just figured it out on my own, and I don't know how. There's been some moments in my life in comedy and in martial arts where I realized I had an error in thinking, and I made adjustments. And that was an adjustment that I made like as a young teenager. I made that adjustment.
That's fortunate. I mean, look, I'm 47. I'm 50 now, but I was 47 when I figured this out.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily figure it out on my own. I mean, it had to be sort of made apparently clear to me. So, if I'd figured this out when I was 17, I would have saved myself and everybody else a lot of pain.
Yeah, it's hard, man, because if you're ambitious, if you have goals, if you're very into what you're doing, you're very focused on whatever the endeavor is. Whenever you have a setback, it's really frustrating and it's infuriating, and you can get very angry at yourself, especially if you're doing something that you know better. Like if you make an error, whether it's with archery or whether it's anything that you do that you're really interested in. If you know that it was a lapse of concentration, or you're tired, or you just weren't focused on it entirely, and you fuck something up, it's like, God damn it, you fucking dumbass piece of shit. Like, it's so easy to do that, but you can't let that happen because it's a bad use of fuel. It really is. It's a bad use of fuel. I mean, I'll still occasionally yell if I fuck something, like, fucking fuck, but I'm not mad at myself. It's just energy.
Yeah.
I just have to fucking get it out, and just gotta fucking let it out. But I think thinking of yourself as a fucking loser is never good. Like, zero time. There's no benefit in it ever. You're always going to have frustration. But you have to also understand the process. Like, while things are going poorly, it's very difficult to recognize that it's part of the process. It's so hard. It's so hard when things are going poorly, whether it's with stand-up comedy or martial arts or anything. When things suck, when things aren't going well, it's so difficult to see past that moment. But you just have to. And over time, with many, many different instances of this taking place, you recognize, like, it's okay. I know you feel like shit. I know you feel like the world is ending, but it's not. Not only is it not ending, this is like totally inconsequential, and this is actually good for you, because this frustration will add to your motivation, it will add to your inspiration, and you'll eventually get better. But tell that to a 16-year-old. It's fucking so hard, man. It's so hard.